Preseason is here. Hall of Fame game, T-minus 1 hour. This might not matter a couple months from now, but football's in the air. Training camp is here. Everybody's been doing a list of their top 10 NFL quarterbacks. Well, here's mine for 2022.
To the players, reality is one against one, move and counter move, helmet to helmet. Nowhere is this conflict more evident than at the fringe of battle where the receiver and cornerback match glares. Here, cunning and speed determine the victor. One-on-one, the battle where the loser bleeds alone on an open field.
Welcome to Feldman Football. Like and subscribe. I don't know why I would have to say that to somebody, but need to grow this network some. I was going to do a list, like a parody, of just 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. I'll do that anyways. Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, Marcus Mariota, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, the mother lover, Tua Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, Jameis Winston. So there's 10 quarterbacks in football this year. That's it. You don't have to keep watching. But if you do, I've put a lot into this video, so I'm hoping it turns out pretty good. Seems that way. And these are my top 10 quarterbacks for the 2022 NFL season. Not necessarily fantasy. Not looking to put up points. But there's a few remarks to fantasy in there. So, on with the list. Number 10. Derek Carr. While Carr threw for only 23 touchdowns and 14 interceptions last year with a quarterback rating of 94, he managed to lead his team to the playoffs while enduring a coaching change in the middle of the season. The Raiders finished 10-7 with a pre-playoff win in one of the greatest games of all time against the Chargers in Week 18. The Raiders lost in the first round of the playoffs to the eventual AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. An overturned touchdown ruling in favor of the Bungles ended up being the dagger for the Raiders. Carr amassed nearly 5,000 passing yards, clocking in at 4,804, but also took 40 sacks. The Raiders added arguably the best wide receiver in the game with Davante Adams to go along with the already established tight end Darren Waller and wide receiver from Clemson, Hunter Renfrow. This will really open things up for him in 2022. Raiders fans are hoping that bringing in Josh McDaniels to coach will actually progress Carr and not hold him back. With having a taste of success and adding a Pro Bowl wide receiver that he has history with, this should allow Carr to spring forward in 2022. Number 9. Karen Frogers. League MVP my ass. It should have went to Colts running back Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Or JTT if you're nasty. Or just Jonathan Taylor because that's what his name is. I just realized you can probably hear crickets in the background. That's not a metaphor. I've corrected this. I'm not going back and redoing this video. Wonder why Frogers is so low on my top 10? Well, for one, he's got no weapons for this year. Scored 9 points at home in another playoff choke job. He plays in a division with the Lions, Bears, and Vikings, which should provide 6 wins a year, but he can't even get that right. They went 4-2 in the division last year. Did I mention that he is an entitled dick? Frogers did have a 111.9 QBR to lead the league last year and did manage to only throw 4 interceptions. Impressive, right? Well, Kirk Cousins and Carson Wentz only threw 7. Russell Wilson threw 6. 3 quarterbacks that didn't go to the playoffs, with 2 playing elsewhere this year. Great benchmark, am I right? Packers also went 5-4 on the road, but hey, the media loves him because he has funny outfits. Number 8. Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is like that mean short girl with spunk the internet tells you about. He does have wheels and an arm, but can never seem to put it together for a full season. Literally has 2 goats at wide receiver with DeAndre Hopkins and AJ Green. Murray threw 24 touchdowns with 10 interceptions last year and amassed less than 4,000 yards in what was supposed to be a pass-happy offense. The Cardinals also went 3-5 at home, including a loss against the Panthers in the Cam Newton return game. They were the last undefeated team, but ended up 1-5 down the stretch while getting blown out by the eventual Super Bowl champion Rams in the first round. While those situations aren't completely his fault, Murray then went on to pout about a contract extension that included a clause that he must study 4 hours a week. And then ensued more pouting. He did run 5 touchdowns in last year, but that was way down from his 11 from the previous season. This guy is still a quarterback that is difficult to game plan for due to his skill set. He did lose a receiver in Christian Kirk, and nothing was really added to help him, but the improvement should continue for Murray this year. He was playing at an MVP level the first half of last season. Number 7, Russell Wilson. After dipping his toes into leaving Seattle prior to last season, the move was finally made with a trade to the Broncos. Russell Wilson, despite having a career down year in passing yardage, still managed 25 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions, but Seattle missed the playoffs. It was an end of an era in Seattle, and last year was a strange year because a good bit of his stats matched his rookie season. Ironically, it would be his last in Seattle. Now Wilson joins a team in Denver that has just been a quarterback away since winning Super Bowl 50, which I don't like to talk about. Wilson will have weapons this year, but not necessarily equivalent to DK Metcalf. Jerry Jeudy has tons of potential, and Courtland Sutton led all wide receivers and receptions on the team last year. Unfortunately, he will be losing Tim Patrick for the season due to an ACL tear in the preseason. Denver does boast an offensive line that's good and a defense that should help to aid Wilson with some protection and time spent on the field. Firing Vic Fangio and going with former Green Bay offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett as the head coach should also revitalize Wilson to his maximum output. Wilson still has wheels and an arm to go along with solid decision-making that helps make Denver not only a playoff contender, but a Super Bowl contender. That is simply what Wilson brings to the table. Number 6, Patrick Mahomes. Even a down year for Patrick Mahomes is enough to deliver a trip to the AFC Championship. But his luck continues to test these sands of time as he now loses his top receiver in Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins. He basically got ousted in his last Super Bowl appearance and showed enough chinks in his armor last year as defenses began to better defend. This is probably the second most gimmicky offense in the league, and the NFL stands for not for long, according to Jerry Glanville, and we are starting to see it happen here. Can Mahomes make receivers great, or has he been more reliant on speed at the position while also having the best tight end in the game in Kelsey? Mahomes threw 37 touchdowns and 13 interceptions last year, and that did equate to his lowest quarterback rating as a starter for his career. I'm judging by trends here, and with still a lack of a solid running game, Mahomes will continue to run around the backfield in hopes of someone getting open. This is a ticking time bomb. Is Juju Smith-Schuster an actual replacement for Tyreek Hill, the guy who cares more about his TikTok followers and was a jinx to the Steelers, on top of having a down year last year and no one else wanted him? But it is hard to not respect what Mahomes continues to do, and is more than what Karen Frogers has done in recent history. This year will be Mahomes' biggest test yet. Number 5, Tom Brady. This guy is 45 years old and living in Florida. He's living the boomer life. Even looking at quarterback stats and just comparing Brady to Frogers, Brady should have won the MVP last year. The thing is, going through even these highlights shows that he has turned more into an effective game manager that confidently executes rather than throwing up deep balls. All that was really hard to say for some reason. I don't know why. Is he a system quarterback? Well, he's always had a lot of help. The point is, Brady is smart. Is he Peyton Manning smart? I'd say it's close. Brady comes to the line knowing what the defense is running. He is also surrounded by weapons to help guide long drives. For this year, Brady loses Gronk but gains Julio Jones while also retaining the same receiver core he had last year, well outside of Antonio Brown. He also loses his head coach Bruce Arians in favor of Todd Bowles. This could amount to a mixed bag, but there's a reason Arians quit. Brady still plays in a weak division and did amass 43 touchdowns and only 12 interceptions for a rating of 102.1. He was sacked only 22 times. Problem is, he still can't beat the Saints for some reason. Brady still just finds ways to win and finds ways to avoid getting hurt. His release is extremely quick on top of his decision making. Number 4, Matthew Stafford. This dude leaves Detroit and immediately wins a Super Bowl. It truly is too cold in the D. You can't say it was a talent because he had Megatron for quite some time and other good wide receivers. Stafford has helped make Cooper Kupp a household name. You know, the guy that won the Triple Crown last year. With 41 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, Stafford remains that gunslinger with a rating of 102.9. Would Kupp have amassed nearly 2,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 145 receptions with Jared Goff? There's your benchmark. Stafford has proven to make receivers great around him. Names like Van Jefferson and Robert Woods became highly sought-after fantasy receivers. While the Rams are supposedly in talks to bring him back, they were like, we don't need Odell Beckham now because Stafford makes plays. He has a rocket for an arm, even after being in the league for years, and excellent decision-making. The Rams are still the cream of the crop in the NFC, as this team truly was a quarterback away, despite Stafford almost gift-wrapping the NFC to the Niners in the championship game. Number 3, Josh Allen. Josh Allen is simply put the savior of the city of Buffalo, New York. He embodies everything that lives and breathes Buffalo Bills. Break out the tables! The icing on the cake was hanging a 50 burger on the Patriots in the playoffs. His stats won't necessarily wow you from last year. 36 touchdowns, 15 picks with a rating of 92.2. He threw for 4,400 yards but led the Bills back to the playoffs, and that is the most important aspect. The Chiefs have seemed to be the kryptonite for him in the playoffs. Not that he doesn't show out, but they can't get over that hump. It's almost do or die this year for that to happen. Big hands and a rocket arm, along with some bulldozing ability, make Allen the most complete quarterback they had to prepare for. How long can this carry on for as he enters year 5? He still has Stephon Diggs, but lost his safety valve with Beasley. He may finally have a running back to take the load off as they drafted James Cook out of Georgia, who wasn't too thrilled to end up in Buffalo. But the time to be a Buffalo Bill is now, and this is because of Josh Allen. He single-handedly makes this team exciting to watch. Number 2, Justin Herbert. I'm not going to lie. I had Herbert at 1 until I got a refresher from the NFL Yearbook series on NFL Network. These highlights also are already a countdown, so I'm just going to roll with it. It's not that I felt lesser of him. I was just reminded of how great the number 1 guy is. Mark my words, Herbert's throwing 50 touchdowns this year. They'll probably still miss the playoffs. This is no bias, as there simply hasn't been growth with a quarterback like this, minus maybe Mahomes. Herbert threw 38 touchdowns, 15 picks with a 97.7 rating and over 5,000 yards. Yeah, 5,000 yards. Dude launches piss missiles, takes out cities, invades with stunning haircuts. His weapons remain the same, and the offensive line should only get better. The defense is bolstered in hopes of creating more turnovers, which will lead to more piss missiles from Herbert. The only reason the Chargers didn't make the playoffs last year really rests on the shoulders of Coach Brandon Staley. Staley can't resist going for it on 4th down like I can't resist deep-throating a chicken wing. Herbert is one of 2 quarterbacks who are the true future of this league, and even made Jalen Guyton a receiver to look out for. Number 1, Joe Burrow. Joe Cool, the modern-day Montana. Yes, Jamar Chase shops for his clothes, but the drip is real in both attire and performance. His competitiveness, mixed with his humbled demeanor, still results in the ultimate desire to take over games. It even came out of his mouth that he's taken over games. Who would have ever thought that the Bungles would have gotten this right? Safe to say he's better than Lawrence. The perks of playing in the SEC. I mean, look at his weapons. Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Hurst, and Mixon. Seriously, just draft this team in your fantasy league and you'll win. Burrow might not mean as much to this fan base like Allen does to the Bills, but he ultimately means more to the league as he is the future of football. He dethroned Mahomes, beat Rodgers during last season, and Brady is scared. Only Herbert lurks in the shadows. Dude throws for 4,600 yards and completes 70% of his passes. Yes, he took the most sacks in the league last year, including a buttload against the Titans in the playoffs. But the Bungles have bolstered their offensive line, which will only make him more dangerous. Giving Burrow more time to throw is like getting rewarded free gas. Speaking of gas, Burrow's got gas. 108.3 rating with 34 touchdowns, 14 picks, despite being sacked 51 times to lead the league. He also led the league in completion percentage on top of leading the league in yards per attempt. Joe Burrow is the best quarterback for 2022 and potentially beyond. And this is my list of top 10 quarterbacks for this upcoming season.